Okay, we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Time Reality TV episode 35. This is my first episode in over 5 months. Um, my name is Andrew Kirk. You guys can find me on Twitter at CSUGradAKirk and the blog where you can find all my Survivor Power Rankings from is bigtimerealitytv.blogspot.com. Today, we're going to be talking Survivor Kaoh Rong finale. Got my brother here, Corey Kirk. What's up, dude?
Nothing much. Just here to talk Survivor with you.
Absolutely, man. So,
Hanging out.
what's up?
I said hanging out.
Yeah. So, overall, before we get into the season, what is your overall thoughts on Survivor 32?
I felt like contestant-wise, it was very colorful. You had contestants from literally all walks of life and all forms of just, anything coming into one scenario and seeing who can thrive. And, some early on predictions that you and I made in conversations in the past have not panned out. And I think that makes the season very interesting because it's very unpredictable, and what I mean by that is that outside of maybe one or two of the final four, the other two I'd never saw coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going into watching the preview for the Survivor at the Survivor Cambodia during the Survivor Cambodia finale, I was kind of worried about this season because they were like, "Oh, this is the most brutal season ever." I mean, all they showed was medevacs and whatnot, and yeah, we've had a couple rough episodes, but overall, I thought this has been a pretty good season.
I would say, contestant-wise, there isn't one that stand out to me. It's that one contestant, like you think Survivor Samoa, you think Russell Hantz, you think Survivor Tocantins, you think a coach, you think Survivor, Survivor Second Chance, you think of Jeremy. It's just, there's not that
LeBron versus think of Tony. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, there's just not one contestant to me that kind of sticks out and you think, oh, hey, when I talk about Ty, he's going to represent that season. You know what I mean? Not every contestant that is the best representation of that season is the winner. You're probably surprised I didn't say JT over Coach. JT was a winner, and he was an all-around good guy with a very few.
Coach was that season, I agree.
Yeah, he was one of the very, 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 very few contestants where I feel like in character-wise, he lacked the depth. And that's why, I find him to be, a great winner, but a boring winner, too. But going into that is just, the Final Four, I don't think there's anyone I would determine as, this is the character. This is the person you could see coming back. I mean, the only person that I would think come to mind would be Neil, because I feel like we didn't get to hear, we didn't get to see Neil's entire story.
Yeah. Before we talk about the Final Four, talk about a few of the people that stood out to you of the ones that have already been voted out. Pretty much merge.
Jason, I would say Jason for sure is one, because if there's anyone I can select that I feel like would come back to kind of hopefully play better would be Jason. Another person I would keep in mind would probably be Neil, like I said. Other than that, Neil and Jason are probably the two I would say that we'll see again if they can compete in another season. Outside of that, though, props to a girl like Julia, only being 18, lasting so long in the game. She's one of the longest lasting Survivor contestants. But in the end, those are probably the ones that stand out to me the most.
Another one that I think that will come back was somebody that got his time cut way short, way short, and I'm talking about Beast Mode Cowboy. Caleb, he's definitely coming back. He got married a couple weeks ago, so congrats to him on that. I think Beast Mode Cowboy is probably another one, but I definitely agree with you. I feel like as a season, this has been a really good season, but as a cast, it hasn't been like the most ideal cast. And another thing that I want to touch on is no idol plays this season. And we haven't seen that since when? Nicaragua?
Yeah, I don't think it was never played in Nicaragua because they ended up getting Marty out by a blindside.
Yeah, I think they played it in the final five, but it didn't even matter anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But we had no idol plays, and the Super Idol, which was was one of the big twists this season, obviously didn't work out because they're like, oh, it's definitely going to get played, and Scott gets voted out, and Ty doesn't give him the idol, and then Ty loses his idol because of Old Man Joe getting a medevac last week, and kind of unfortunate because that's like one of my favorite parts of Survivor is when somebody plays an idol, especially when it's an idol played for somebody else. Like we saw last season with Jeremy playing Steven. And one of my favorite idol plays probably was San Juan del Sur's finale when Natalie played it for Jacqueline.
I remember
I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm. And that right there, it proves that if you make a move that doesn't necessarily cover your own butt, it can make you look a lot better in the jury. And that's why Natalie is considered to be one of the most dominant woman winners of all time, is because she played it cerebral-like. But going back into this cast, what was weird for me is I felt like Ty was a little too comfortable because, to be honest, it worked. And you don't see that too often when a person gets a little too comfortable. I mean, look what he did in the last few weeks. He literally just said, let's vote Michelle, let's vote Michelle. And then you got Sydney, who's a good friend of Michelle, saying, I'm not going to do that, and letting Michelle know, and Michelle calling Ty out. Ty had the strongest case until about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
the moment Scott got voted out, it kind of screwed him.
Mm-hmm.
All over my power rankings every week up until Scott got voted out, what, Final 9? Final 8?
It was like Final 9, Final 8, roughly around there.
It was Final 8 because it was Neil. Where it started at 11, right? 11 or 12.
I think it was 11. Neil was medevaced, day 19.
Nick got blindsided.
Day 21. Debbie got blindsided day 20.
He was 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, since then, he joined the alliance with Aubrey, which was a good move for, especially a good move for Aubrey.
Mm-hmm.
And it just has hurt him since. And we can start with him talking about the Final Four. What would his path be to the final? Go ahead.
His only way of winning would be to knock out Sydney, and I think that him and Aubrey kind of see the same path, because I would say the same thing with Aubrey. Aubrey's only way of winning would to be beat Sydney and get Sydney eliminated to be the last jury member. Michelle, yeah, she hasn't necessarily made any enemies, but she hasn't been a dominant Survivor player, though. She's kind of flown under the radar. She's kind of like trying to think here, like a Natalie from Samoa,
Mm-hmm.
like a Stephen Fishback in Token Teens. Like there's always that big dominant player, and then there's always that one player that no one sees coming. And I'm not saying Michelle doesn't have a chance. I feel like Michelle has the third best chance out of the four. But the way that Ty is setting himself up to being is he's setting himself up to almost the equivalent to Amanda Kimmel back in China and in Fans versus Favorites, meaning as in playing a tremendous game. And I don't see him doing good at the final tribal.
No.
I do not see him doing good at all. I feel like he has many members of the jury with an axe to grind. He's got both Scott and Jason. He's got he's got Neil. He's got all those people that are gonna just pretty much.
I don't think Neil and Debbie are gonna be that aren't could be votes for him if Aubrey's not in the final three, but the three that we just named and Julia, there's four right there.
And
we don't even know if it's the final three or final two.
And Michelle, if Michelle doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't see him faring well in the final tribal. He's going to be that perennial second placer. You know what I mean? He's going to be that guy that played a heck of a game but still ends up in second place, like a Russell Hantz, like an Amanda Kimmel. You know, that's how I see it, because he's done so poorly at tribal council. And it's just to a point of where, like, he reveals that he has an idol. Then he reveals there's a super idol. Then he reveals he has an advantage. And then he uses his advantage poorly because he didn't even put enough time to talk to Jason about it and get him convinced to vote out Michelle. You know, it was just, like, mind-boggling how he's still in it. Like, I'm not saying he has played a bad game. No, I just feel like he's played a game with many mistakes. That's how I feel.
Yeah, Ty is definitely, going into the season, he was definitely one of my favorites. He had some great one-liners. He's had bromances with Caleb, Scott Pollard, and now, what do you think of Mark the Chicken?
Hey, he might win Survivor. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know if you listen to Rob's podcast, but a lot of the voicemailers are like, Mark the Chicken's getting at dinners at it. But I mean, he's had good bonds all over the season, but at the same time, he's broken those bonds. So, in order for him to get to the final three or final two,
he needs to win out. That's how I see it. I don't see him really standing a chance.
I don't know if he needs to win out though, because if Aubrey wins, say it's a final two, and it's Aubrey, Sydney, and Ty, Aubrey would be dumb to take Sydney to the final two.
It's true, because
I still think she could beat Sydney in the final two, but it would be very close. If she takes Ty to final two, she wins probably 8-1, 9-0.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is, like, they got to see the way that Ty's played the game as an advantage. You know, like, look at Michelle. Michelle even created a bond with him because she knew that if they stood together, there'd be a chance that she could play a better game. But if I had to label smartest player of the game this season, it hands down goes to Aubrey, because Aubrey knows that Ty is, in the words of Fishback, the Darth Vader of this season. You know, started off good, ended up bad.
Yeah, Aubrey going into preseason, we can talk about her next. I thought, okay, this girl is not going to go far. She'll probably go home around the swap. But since probably Scott's boot at it. No, Debbie's boot at it. Excuse me. I've been really impressed with her. She hasn't won a single individual immunity or a reward, but she doesn't need to.
The thing is that you got to keep in mind that she has dodged so many bullets, it's not even funny. You know, she has been the target of many people for the longest time, but they just never got a chance to deliver that target. Look,
and the first one boot too.
Yeah, look at Neil. Neil being evacuated, that wasn't their plan. Their plan all along was to take out Aubrey. Look at the first boot off. It was between Aubrey and what's her name? I can't even remember her name.
Liz?
Yeah, and Liz. It was between the two of them. She's lost her two most loyal allies in both Neil and Joe. It is just a situation where, like, the crap had hit the fan, and it keeps hitting the fan on her. If she wins, that, in my opinion, watching that would be the most revelating thing, because I feel like out of the deserving out of the four, she's the most deserving. But when it comes to the gameplay, Sydney is as deserving as she is.
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. I think here's how I see Final Four going, Corey. Okay. I see somebody winning immunity. Let's say Ty wins immunity. Okay. Or Aubrey. One of them wins immunity. I feel like we're gonna see another fire making challenge. I have a good feeling. Aubrey and Ty are gonna vote for somebody, and Michelle and Sydney are gonna vote for somebody.
Right.
So whether it be Ty and Michelle or Aubrey and Michelle, we'll see what happens with that. And then I think we'll see it's more likely than a final 2 because I think once Caleb got out, it kind of messed up the whole swap thing. We had a swap at 13, which means 6 and 6, and the whole exiled Braun Beach twist, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if they'll ever do that again.
No, I think that was a huge scramble. It was just like, okay, hey, Caleb getting out of the game was not 100% planned for, but more importantly, it's just on the fact of, okay, hey, how can we make this interesting? And it just proves the brilliance of Mark Burnett. Mark Burnett knows how to work with what he has and, set up a situation where Probst can just surprise the heck out of him.
Yeah, Mark Burnett's great. He's the producer for The Voice, Survivor. I just watched a new show of his last night called Coupled, where Terrence J is the host, guy from Thinking Like a Man. It was a pretty good premiere. But anyways, I see a fire making challenge in the Final Four.
First time since season 30 with Mama C and Ronnie.
Mm-hmm. When was the last time before that? Because it was a long time before Worlds Apart, wasn't it?
Trying to think.
We have to go all the way back to Gabon, maybe?
Between Maddie and what's her name? Sugar? No. It was what's her name? The girl that finished second.
Susie?
Huh?
Susie, I haven't watched the season, but the only thing I've watched of Gabon is the auction on YouTube.
Mm.
That was when Randy was bidding like crazy. Randy and Ken.
Mm-hmm. But I see this. I could see that happening very easily, but I could also see they were able to convince Michelle to take out Julia. I can see Aubrey, if she plays a good enough game, I could see her taking Michelle to the side and explaining what would happen if she went to the end with Sydney. Don't be woo. Don't take your friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like, you could be cool with everybody and everything like that, but like, you could tell that the friendship that Michelle and Sydney have are sincere. It's the same thing that Wu and Tony had. Going back to season 27, I believe it was, or 28. 28, yeah. Remember that decision? Wu won final immunity, and he had a choice of taking either Tony or Cass to the final tribal council, and chose to take Tony because of the reason that he wanted to take out the best player at the end. But when he was knocked out from the final tribal and Tony won his season, I remember Probst asking, if Cass was taken to the final 2, how many of you would have voted for Wu? And it was a complete sweep.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because I was kind of I would think had that situation happened, I think. Well, wait a minute. Sarah didn't like Cass, right?
Nope.
Okay, so then she wouldn't have voted because I would have think maybe Sarah would have voted for Cass in that situation because Wu burned her, but Cass burned her worse. But anyways, yeah, we talked about Aubrey. Aubrey's had a very interesting road, and I feel like she'd be the most satisfying winner of the season. Moving on to Sydney. The one thing I'm disappointed about Sydney, Corey, did you watch the preseason bios or the preseason videos?
Yeah, I did. I saw the cast assessment by Probst, and he made a good point. Like, if you could mold a tribe mate to fit the terms of brawn, beauty, and brain, Sydney would be the one that you could think of on the heartbeat. She's the best one that would represent all three.
The one thing I'm disappointed about is I didn't mean to cut you off there. The one thing I'm disappointed about is in her preseason video, Sydney was like, I have multiple personalities. I have Storm. I think our other one was Rebecca. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did we see either of those?
No, I don't think so. I think she
snapped a couple times. I mean, she snapped at the boys and ended up turning on them at Final 10, but it really wasn't that crazy as she presented it in the preseason video.
I think the biggest factor is this is her game to play. This is her game to lose. And what I mean by that is that, if you think about it, she has molded well with all three tribes. Like Jeff said, she could fit into any tribe. She is a bodybuilder fit with brawn, one of the most brilliant minds in Survivor this season, Brain, and plus she blended in with the Beauty Tribe members very well. Just being able to get along with them, forming a very sincere friendship with Michelle, and all of that fun stuff. So Sydney is playing the best game, and you sit there as a fan and you watch it. And I remember Aubrey having a confessional last week where she's realizing, huh?
Was this at the reward?
Yeah, and she was realizing that Sydney is a humongous threat. And you sit there as a fan and you think, holy crap, this is exactly what you want to happen. You want the person you feel like is the most deserving to win, which I think we both agree is Aubrey, just due to the how she plays, but it doesn't mean the most deserving is going to win. But she realized that Sydney is the biggest threat. And if Sydney gets knocked out, then it's Aubrey's game to lose. That's how I feel. I feel it is Sydney, Aubrey, Michelle, and Ty. I feel like Ty has the least control in this game because of just how, like I said, the mistakes that he's made. I hate to be critical on the guy because the guy seems like a real good dude, but I'm looking at it from a Survivor perspective. That if he makes it to the final tribal council, it's like how Sash was treated in Nicaragua.
Dan
Yeah, Dan telling him he needs to fix that wink of his. Yeah, it's just I can easily see if Ty's in the finals.
Let's run down the jury. Who would be ones that would ask like hard-hitting questions on Ty? Let's go backwards. Joe, I don't see anything happening with Joe.
Joe, we already know if Aubrey's in the finals.
Joe's obviously going to vote for Aubrey, so I don't see him asking any I don't see him being like Dan in the final tribal council sense.
Right.
The previous juror was Jason. Jason obviously said that Ty flipped more times than a flapjack, so he may ask Ty a hard question. He may just ignore him completely.
Just think about it. You got two guys, okay? Two guys. We got Scott, who was 100% convinced he was safe due to the super idol, looks at Ty, says, "Gonna use it?" And Ty goes, "No."
That was epic. I love it.
Walking out of Survivor with a idol in his pocket.
Not even his.
Yes. And you got Jason, who was so scorned by that flip that he had a chance to keep his game going, but couldn't trust him. And I don't blame him. That's the thing. Those two guys right there will sit there and just talk until the cows go home about how much Ty won't deserve to win. I could see it happening now. And you said it with Julia. Julia would probably agree with them. Other members, I don't know. The only person I think would be a waste vote would be Nick, because I feel like Nick wouldn't take it seriously enough. He just doesn't come off that way. But everybody else, I feel like it would just be torn. I think it's going to be a close vote, but I don't think it's going to be anything else really.
So yeah, last one we got to talk about, and then we'll get in depth on how we think tonight's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Last one we got to talk about is Michelle. First four episodes before the swap. In my opinion, she was not. I think it's probably most people's opinion. She was the Anna's sidekick, pretty much.
Yeah.
Anna was running the Beauty Tribe. She got screwed in a tribe swap, but Michelle really wasn't that big of a character in the first 4 episodes.
But granted, the best way to describe her, though, is being a chameleon, and meaning as in she doesn't draw that much attention onto herself.
Which is good.
Yeah, the first time she drew attention onto herself was when Ty was trying to vote her out. Look at that. They tell her to vote out her biggest ally in Julia. She does it.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have conflict with it? Yeah, she does. I mean, who wouldn't? But other than that, she was 100% just blending in and not causing trouble. And look at that with the jury. If it was Michelle and Ty in the final two, I think that would be an easier fit.
I don't know. Like, I definitely agree with you. I think Ty has the least chance of winning. But if it's a Ty versus a Michelle,
give me a second. One second.
I'll just keep talking. If it's a Ty versus a Michelle final two,
Hello?
I would lean towards Michelle. I'll put you on mute, bro.
Okay, what's up, man?
If it's a Ty versus Michelle final two, I think Michelle will still take it, but it won't be a sure thing if it was a Ty versus Sydney or Ty versus Aubrey. What I'm going to ask Corey once I'm going to say to Corey, the one thing that Michelle got very lucky that she's still there is the whole tribe swap. Had her team lost that second immunity challenge, I believe that it was Gondul, the original Brains tribe. Had their team lost, Michelle would have been gone. She would have been gone before the merge. Peter would have still been there. It would have been Michelle gone. And who knows what the final four would have been. It could have been Julia. It could have been Jason. Should be interesting. Interesting to see what happens. I've been watching Survivor live for 4 seasons now. I started with San Juan del Sur. The 3 finales, San Juan del Sur, Worlds Apart, and Survivor Cambodia Second Chance. I knew going into that episode, if this person, Natalie, Mike, and Jeremy, if they make the final 3, they're winning for sure. Which makes this season even intriguing is once it gets to final 3, final 2, it's based on who's the better speaker in the final tribal council. I think Aubrey has the edge, but there's no guarantee. If it's Aubrey versus Sydney in the final 2, which I don't think that's going to happen, I see it happening where, okay, let's run the votes. I don't know. Now that I think of it, Aubrey will probably get Neil's vote. She'll probably get Joe's vote. That's 2 right there. Nick liked Aubrey, but at the same time, I don't know. Nick was blindsided by Michelle, so I don't know. Debbie's vote. Debbie said in her Ponderosa video that she would have voted for Aubrey if she made the end, but I don't know if that opinion has changed now that she knows that she's made it as far as she did. Scott, I don't know. It's up in the air. Let me get you off mute, bro.
I'm back.
No worries. What I was saying about Michelle is she got so lucky in that tribe swap because, correct me if I'm wrong, had that Gondul. I think that's what the Blue Tribe was called, right?
Yeah.
Had they gone to tribal council, that's second swap episode, she would have been gone, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
So she survived that. She didn't even go to a single tribal council during the pre-merge turn, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
She had a lot of interesting lines throughout the season. She was like, "I don't need to be carried, bro."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad they casted a lot way better beauties this season.
She's got a bit of a Fabio-esque type liking to her, meaning as in like
a little bit of Parvati too.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily compare to Parvati because I don't feel like she played the game as dirty as Parvati did. I feel like I would say more of a Fabio-esque like thing, meaning as in she's so well liked by everybody, but gameplay-wise, she hasn't necessarily done anything major. I mean, the only big major thing she did was knocking out Julia, obviously, but I'm talking about just throughout the whole game. You know, Fabio was chosen mainly in Nicaragua because he was so well liked, and both Chase and Sash both burned a ton of bridges in the process. I feel like Michelle would do that if it was Final 3 and they ended up knocking out Aubrey. It was her and Ty, or her, Ty, and Sydney.
I don't know. The 2 key jurors are Jason and Scott. No matter what, whether it be Ty in the final or whether it be Sydney in the final.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I would hope that they'd uh, give a good gameplay to Sydney, and if that was the final three, give it to Sydney. But I don't know. Both Scott and Jason during the game, not while they've been in Ponderosa, were very bitter towards Sydney once she flipped on them at final 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was the one that they voted for, and she could have easily gone home had Sydney not been like, "Oh, we're going to vote for Scott."
Right. And it just shows that Sydney didn't want to be a pawn in someone's game.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew that in order for her to survive, she had to stick with those two. But in order for her to thrive, when they got into a bigger tribe, she had to break away from them. And it's nothing against Scott or Jason's game. Both of them played, I feel like they played a great game. Congratulations to Scott, because Scott is the longest reigning professional athlete to play in Survivor. You know, he ended up passing Jeff Kent from Philippines by 2 places.
I know there was a football player in Guatemala. I haven't watched this season, but I think he did pretty well, didn't he? Hogaboom?
Yeah, I think he did okay. He didn't do great. I think he was maybe final.
And then Tyler Fredrickson was a college athlete for Worlds Apart. He did. If you want to count like college and professional athletes, Tyler did the best, but professional was Scott.
I'm talking professional. You know, meaning as in you make a living playing your sport. So, congratulations to Scott on that.
You know who Scott Pollard looks like? I was watching Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. You know who looks like him? Is that big guy under Steve Adams? He looks a lot like Scott Pollard. Like
he's got the haircut and everything.
With the facial hair, that'd be Scott Pollard.
Would you see Pollard playing again? No, you don't think so?
His mom, if you remember his whole Ponderosa video and the whole story about his mom, he's got a lot to handle at home. So,
but when things are taken care of, you don't see him coming back.
No,
I don't think professional athletes have ever had really any reason to come back. It's more.
I see Uncle Cliffy coming back before Scott Pollard.
You see who?
Uncle Cliffy.
Oh, you see Cliff coming back before Pollard?
Yeah, I know. From listening to interviews, that Cliff Robinson was one of the ones that they were considering for second chance.
Oh yeah,
he didn't make the ballot, but I see Cliff Robertson coming back before Scott Pollard.
But to be honest, okay, my question for you is, all right, after tonight, the season's all over, said and done. Okay, you have 2 people. Okay, let's say it's right now. You know, if your choice for the winner, whoever wins comes back, we'll knock that out. We'll do 3 choices then. That you say, okay, we're going to see them on a future season. If it's their own version of a season, or if it's fans versus favorites, or if it's second chance, like, you know, number 2, who would you see?
Caleb is a no-brainer. Him going out as quickly as he did, and he had such a. And I know our first season of Big Brother Watching Live was Big Brother 16, and his edit was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
16. I mean, him stalker towards Amber.
Yeah, they labeled him almost as creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Survivor did such more of a better job. I knew he was a good guy all along. I've actually gotten the chance to speak with him after Big Brother 16 on a webcast, and he's a good guy. His edit in Survivor was so much better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, winning helps an edit.
Did you hear the reason why he ended up suffering a severe heat stroke? It's because his body, he was training for a bodybuilding contest right before he got the call. And he said that going into a regular set of eating and exercise and everything like that compared to a bodybuilding schedule is tough. So literally, like, all the muscles in his body, like all the water left the muscles in the body, and that's what ended up having his body shut down. So if you give Caleb 3 months heads up that, hey, you're coming back on, I can see him being a big player in another season.
It would be a great twist if they had like Survivor versus Big Brother. I don't think they'd ever do that, but if they had Survivor versus Big Brother,
they've only had 2 guys play from Big Brother.
I mean, you could. Don't you see a lot of potential Big Brother players like I want to say James from last season. I think he'd do well in Survivor.
I think he'd do well too.
Who's the guy that Danny Donato's with in Big Brother 8? I think his name was Nick. He'd be good.
I don't see that happening because it's like what would happen if you put a bunch of Survivor players in the Big Brother house. I don't think that would work.
I could see a Hayden versus Caleb season.
I mean, that might work, but I would see like the term that I wanted to use for an idea for a season, and if Survivor, Ted, Burnett, Probst, if you hear this, let me know if you like it or not. But it's old school versus new school, and what I mean by that is like kind of copy the idea from Nicaragua, but have 2 returning Survivor players come back and play. And the 2 Survivor players that I'm thinking of, one is Terry Dietz, because I feel like Dietz having his time cut short on Second Chance was unfortunate. I do not blame him for leaving, but it was unfortunate because I remember watching him.
What's up, bro, Chacho?
I remember watching him in Panama, and he was so fun to watch. And then who wouldn't resist another Joe season? Have what was that?
He's coming back. They actually had a bunch of videos up for CBS All Access subscribers of what people have been up to since Survivor. They showed Boston Rob. They showed Rupert. They showed
Serene.
I haven't watched Tina's yet. They showed Jeremy. They showed Natalie. But bunch of the greats about what they've been up to. Joe, actually, one of the coolest things that he's been doing is he has a T-shirt company with Mike.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and I've seen the T-shirt company because I follow Mike on Twitter, and it's actually doing real well, which is good for them.
Yeah. So let's break down the episode tonight. So what are you thinking? Final 3, final 2?
How many people do they have on jury right now? They got Neil, they got Nick, they got Debbie, they got Scott, they got Julia, they got Jason, they got Joe. 7. I think it's going to be final 2.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But I mean, they did. I think it was an 8-person jury in the Worlds Apart, and I think it was an 8-person jury in San Juan del Sur. So it could happen, but I feel like
I like a final.
Final 2.
That to me, I feel like is more fun to watch for the final tribal because there's always that one person that what's her name from Fans versus Favorites, the second one, the fan that lasted the longest, the one that went at the end. What?
Carrie?
Yeah, like she was irrelevant, because like she had the season, give her credit, she lasted longer than her entire tribe, but she had a chance to like make a move in the game and never did.
Wow.
She chose to stay and watch Cochran win $1 million. But, I don't want to watch somebody be an irrelevant vote like a Will from 2 seasons ago. You know what I mean? Who ironically got a vote from his best friend Ronnie.
I think Ty. I mean, I don't know who could get a vote for him, but I feel like there's a chance he could get 0 votes, and there's a chance he could get at least 1 pity vote.
Mm-hmm.
From who I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's gonna be a final 2. So final 4, immunity. Who takes it?
Aubrey. I think
Aubrey and Ty vote Michelle.
And then Michelle and
unless
Aubrey and Ty vote Sydney, and Michelle and Sydney vote Ty, and Sydney gets knocked out because Ty has been providing. So I feel like Ty has a better knowledge of starting a fire compared to Sydney.
I think so too.
Yeah, and then
unless your theory was Aubrey convinces Michelle to flip, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think so either.
And then final 3, if Aubrey wins, she takes Ty.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's either or because I feel like she wins pretty easily either way.
I think Michelle would be a tougher competitor in the final tribal because she hasn't made any enemies, Like, I feel like she likes Ty, but she knows Ty has ruined his opportunity of pleading his case.
The biggest vote that Aubrey still has to earn is Debbie's. Because if you remember, Debbie Ponderosa was like, Aubrey doesn't have my vote if she makes it to the end.
But every player that leaves Survivor doesn't, leave Survivor with their head held high. Meaning as in, obviously their head held high, but meaning as in like, oh, hey, I played the best game I could. A lot of bitterness is played in that game. And what I mean by that is
by her own alliance too.
Huh?
Debbie got blindsided by her own alliance too.
To be honest, if anything, she'd vote Ty because Ty's the only one that hadn't stabbed her in the back. But how do you prove to everybody else about that vote?
Yeah. So final two. I'll come up with a scenario and then we'll break down who gets whose vote. Let's say Aubrey and Ty.
Okay.
Aubrey gets Neil.
We'll go down in the juries. Okay, the jury numbers. 1, Neil. Aubrey. Nick. Huh?
I say toss up for Nick.
Let's say. I don't think he ever connected with Aubrey, so I'm gonna say Ty.
There was like a confession or two that he said that he liked Aubrey, but he was gonna vote him out.
Yeah. Okay. So Ty goes to Nick. So it's 1-1. We go 3. We go Debbie. I feel Debbie has always stressed at the beginning of the season that she wants a girl to win the season.
Yeah.
I feel like that is going to play a huge part in her decision making. So I feel like Debbie's going to go with Aubrey. 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Next, number 4, we go to Scott. Scott goes not Debbie. Scott goes Aubrey because I feel like he has an axe to grind with Ty.
Yeah.
Julia.
Probably Aubrey.
Yeah.
How many is that? 3-1? 4-1?
4-1.
So one more vote.
We go.
Just got a Joe and Aubrey wins the season.
Jason, Aubrey.
Yeah.
Joe, Aubrey, Sydney. I feel like she'd be a woman scorned if she was eliminated by Aubrey in that fact. So I think she'd go Ty. And then Michelle would go Aubrey. So I would say 7-2.
Yeah. That's Aubrey and Sydney.
Aubrey and Sydney?
Mm-hmm.
Neil, Aubrey.
Joe, Aubrey.
Joe, no, let's go down the line. Nick.
Okay. Got blindsided by Sydney, so he got Aubrey.
Yeah, Aubrey. Debbie.
Debbie really likes Sydney.
Yeah, I would say Sydney.
Yeah.
4, we got Scott, Aubrey. Because of the way, actually, who out of the two would sit there and put all emotion to the side and say, "Hey, Sydney, you played the best game between Jason." Huh?
Probably Scott.
You think Scott? You think Jason would hold more emotion to his decision?
Well, the next one that I want to do after Aubrey and Sydney would be Sydney and Michelle, because I feel like that could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Scott's vote could go either way in that one.
Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, it's a toss-up. It's easy to sit here and predict and do everything that we can to try deciding everything like that. Like, I feel like the reason why the 4 of them are there is because they've all played tremendous games. We've sat here for the last almost 45 minutes discussing flaws in the game, but we can.
4 of them have had good parts of their game, which
yeah.
I was saying while I had you on mute is going into the last 3 finales that I've watched live. We knew if Natalie, Mike, and Jeremy made it to the final 3 that they were going to win easily.
Right.
With this one, I have no clue, which makes it even more exciting.
That's what makes it interesting. Character-wise, the contestants are not necessarily exciting, but that doesn't mean that the season's going to be bad. Like I said on Twitter,
I feel like the winner of the season is going to be a very lowly ranked winner in a winner's rankings. Like maybe in the maybe high to mid 20s.
I would say late 10s. I would say in the middle.
Late teens, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you rank the last 3 winners, I don't think any of these 4 winners would be any close to. Definitely nowhere close to Jeremy.
No, not at all. Jeremy played a tremendous game. Jeremy at least is in the top 10.
Yeah. I remember hearing on Rob's finale podcast with Josh Wigler that he put Jeremy probably like right below Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
Mike,
I don't know. Mike's game's in the top 10 as well, in my opinion. Tyson played more of a sloppier game, so I would disagree with Rob because I feel like he didn't control his alliance too well, and Jeremy played a game where he was playing for himself. I think the only one he stayed truly loyal to was Fishback. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think his game was well. Mike was just an absolute just tornado of bad decisions. And the way he played the game at the end was just tremendous to watch. That's the difference.
Wow. Get a mic thing in.
When you do something right, baby, you know what we do? We do the happy dance.
Mm-hmm. You do the happy dance. That's how you do it. Like Mike.
Yeah, that was actually a quote Alicia said in the second or third episode.
Mm-hmm.
I tweeted Mike, and he actually liked the tweet. But anyways, yeah, I think overall winners wise, I don't see it being that high. As far as the season goes, I see it because we have 32 seasons. We can divide it into 16. I see it being top 16.
I could say that
bottom 16. But as far as for
it's as good as Heroes versus Villains, but it's not as bad as Worlds Apart.
No, I don't think it's as good as Heroes versus Villains.
No, you know what I mean by that is like it's on that upper echelon. You know what I mean? That's what I meant by that. It's not on the bottom half of where Worlds Apart is.
But as far as winners go, I see it being in the bottom 16 because, I mean, it's tough because I don't think this winner will be like a very, very publicized winner. Ever since Caramon, we've had great winners. We haven't had maybe even since One World, right?
I like Kim. I told you I played my case about Kim to you, because you were 100% signed, sealed, delivered on the idea that Worlds Apart was not worth watching. It was pretty One World. Sorry, Worlds Apart. My bad. That's season 30. It was pretty gnarly to watch, but like watching Kim play her game, oh man, it was just amazing, and she made the Survivor Hall of Fame only playing the game once. Everybody else had played the game multiple times.
Survivor 25, we had Denise Stapley, very well deserving, right?
Yeah, I mean...
She went to every tribal council from what I've heard.
Yeah, she went to every single one.
Crazy.
It's you want to talk about like... Okay, actually, let's do this. I give you a Survivor, and you give me the best former contestant you can compare them to, and then I'll give you mine, okay?
We just get between the final 4?
Yeah, between the final 4. Tie.
I think there hasn't been other than Todd Herzog, there hasn't been a game man that's won Survivor, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think he'd be like a tie.
For me, Ty's an Amanda Kimmel, meaning as in that a tremendous Survivor player, but a terrible tribal council person. Yeah.
And I can't think of anything for anybody for Ty, to be honest. Maybe. Well, I don't know. A lot of the guests that Rob had on his podcast this season said Joe was Keith Nail, and Rob said Ty was a Keith Nail.
Mm-hmm.
And I see from like the one-liner's perspective, Ty was definitely very similar to Keith.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that.
Stick to the plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
Okay, Sydney.
I'm gonna go with the person she said she's most like, Tony.
Because
she flipped when she had to Tony did a lot of flipping in his season, but he did it at the right times when he got out LJ, when he got out Jeffra, when he got out Trish.
Yeah. You mentioned LJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Personally, if I had to compare Sydney, I would say
Sierra would be another good comparison with her.
No, I would say Stephanie LaGrossa from Palau and Guatemala and Heroes versus Villains. Because Sydney, in my opinion, was one of the most dominant female contestants when it came to the challenges. And, hopefully she doesn't follow Stephanie's suit, meaning as in getting there and then realizing that she didn't do enough. You know what I mean? So I would say Stephanie LaGrossa. Okay, Michelle.
I was hoping you say Aubrey because I have a better answer for Aubrey.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, though. Very beautiful girl. So I want to compare her to a very pretty girl. She's not a Sophie Clark by any means. Going down all the seasons.
I got my comparison. You want me to go first?
Sierra from Worlds Apart. Because Sierra had good moments, but at the same time, some of the episodes she was very absent in them, like Michelle was.
I can see where you're coming from. For me, I feel like she's a greater fit for Natalie from Samoa, meaning as in, or like I told you, like a Fabio-esque type liking to her. So I would sit there and say either a Fabio or a Natalie, because they both, I feel like, they didn't necessarily play a strong Survivor game strategic-wise or anything like that, but they played the camp life well. They played getting along with everybody well, outside of Nyanka for Fabio, but you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Just like that's how it goes, and that's how they did well. So I could see comparing Michelle to Natalie, or to,
Now moving on to Aubrey.
Yeah.
In her preseason interview, the question, who are they most like?
Mm-hmm.
And this fits her perfectly. She said she's the love child of Cochran and Sophie.
That's a good comparison. I like to compare her to
she was Cochran's dream girl.
I compare her to Denise, because Denise, in my opinion, had the same journey as Aubrey has. And, when it came down to the end of season 25, if Malcolm wasn't going to win, Denise was the next deserving. You know what I mean? And, like, Sydney is Aubrey's Malcolm. Because, like, even Denise realized it in the Final Four. She goes, if I take Malcolm with me, I'm not going to stand a chance. That's why she took Lisa and Scoopin.
I know Malcolm won the favorite player in season 26. Did he win it in 25 too? The $100,000 prize?
I think Penner did. Yeah, I think Penner did, from what I remember.
Penner won it?
Yeah.
Because I know Malcolm beat Brenda and... Oh, I don't think Eric was one of the favorites. He beat Brenda and somebody else in the finals. I don't remember who exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people at the Caramoan for a reunion, that reunion was a blur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the love child of Cochran and Sophie, that was perfect.
Yeah.
So, before we get into that, wrapping this up, the winner finished this. The winner of Survivor Kaoh Rong is
Aubrey.
Yeah, I think so too.
If Aubrey's knocked out, if you got to give me a second choice, it'd be Sydney. That's how I see it. It's Aubrey's. It's strategically, it is Sydney's game to lose, but when it comes to the game as a whole, it's Aubrey's game to lose. So I say Aubrey a little bit above Sydney.
Mm-hmm. And
How about
then
you?
I think Aubrey too.
Mhm.
But I could see Sydney or Michelle winning it too. Any of those three, I think would be. I think a female wins this. I don't think Ty wins it, obviously, but
Yeah, Ty just has
will
dug himself a hole,
win.
and I hate to say that because he was so fun to watch this season. You know what I mean? He was so fun to watch because he was so entertaining. But watching him at Tribal Council, it was just you're sitting there wanting to just bang your head against the wall because you're just like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, obviously at the end of the reunion, they're going to show season 33. What do you think is going to happen for season 33? Do you have a prediction?
Fans versus favorites. I would love to see that again. I thought that was an awesome, awesome idea. I would love to bring them back. Does it happen? I don't know, but I hope so.
You know what we haven't seen in a while?
What's that?
Two tribes with no theme. And I have a feeling season 33 might be that. With maybe Exile Island in play.
Okay.
I think that's what it's going to be. And well, I don't know, because they ever since One World, they've done that. They've done a theme, whether it be guys versus girls, brains, bronze, beauty, fans versus favorites, blood versus water. I don't see season 33 being blood versus water 3. I think it's too soon for another blood versus water.
Mm-hmm.
It might be another year or so. For what I've been hearing, season 34, and I'm not 100% on this, season 34 has been rumored to be a returning player season. But as far as season 33 goes, I think we see all new players.
Right. Hopefully, you said season 34 will definitely be.
Not definitely, but from what I've been reading on like certain websites.
I see it always as a returning players, new season, returning players, new season, because I think it makes it more intriguing. I like the idea of mixing returning players with new players. I like that idea. That's why I want fans and favorites back for a third try.
What I would like Survivor to do in the future would be like how the challenge does with like the whole last season they brought the family members in. I would like one part of the year to be new players and one other part to be returning players.
Definitely. I could agree with that.
And even bring back people as far back as people that were good that unfortunately got cut very early in the pre-merge. Like, how great would it be to see David Sampson come back to Survivor? The first dude from Cagayan.
That'd be cool.
Right. I feel like he'd do – I mean, I don't think he'd win, but I think he'd do a lot better than being first out.
Mm-hmm. Or like do a whole season of first boots.
Yeah. Merge versus pre-merge.
Yeah.
So overall, as far as the season goes, it was very I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I could say I enjoyed it too. Wait and see on how the season ends up to being, but yeah.
To wrap things up, obviously we get a reunion right after the episode tonight. Who do you feel like will get the most airtime? Ty or Mark the Chicken?
Ty. Mark the Chicken's close though.
Yeah, unfortunately, because it's been a whole year since the season filmed, I don't think he's going to be at the reunion, Mark the Chicken.
Hopefully not. Don't jinx it. They might have kept him alive.
Yeah. Rob was joking on his podcast that Mark the Chicken was the Bion Chicken in Second Chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, it should be fun. I definitely glad to get you on the chat. We can definitely do this again once Big Brother 18 starts. You're going to be watching that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm only tell.
Also, I don't know if you know, but next week, this is right, primetime episodes of Survivor Big Brother and Amazing Race alums. Do you see who's on the list for Survivor?
I did. Rupert, Sandra, Boston Rob.
I didn't know.
What was that?
Sandra was on that list.
She might be. I don't know. She might not be. Boston Rob, Rupert, Kelly Wentworth, Woo, Jeremy. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he and I don't know. I guess he and Joe were on a episode of Young and Restless too after the Second Chance season. But
cool.
Yeah, but it should be a fun 3 days. Obviously, I won't be able to see the third one because this guy right here is graduating.
That's true.
Yeah. So that should be fun. And they have I think Survivor's Monday, Big Brother's Tuesday, Amazing Race is Wednesday.
Cool. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, and then Big Brother starts June 22nd. Is there anything else you want to touch on? I mean, I know you watch a lot of other shows. What other shows are you watching that have caught your attention?
No, I mean Survivor's pretty much the main one. It's the one that I watch.
Let's talk a little bit of American Grit for like a minute. Sure, I know you've been watching a lot of that. What do you think? What do you think of the new show that's been 5 episodes in?
Interesting concept. Do I see it lasting long? I hope so. It's just a matter of wait and see. I like the idea, though. I like the rawness of the emotion. I feel like that's the best part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely hope it lasts a while too. And the good thing about it is about where John Cena is in his WWE career is he can take time off to do it anytime he wants.
Oh yeah, and it just worked out perfectly for him.
Because he doesn't really have to be like a regular anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not going to be a part-timer like Jericho, Brock Lesnar, but
right,
close to it.
Mm-hmm. But we gotta wrap this up, man. My computer is right about to die.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks everybody. Thanks so much for being on. Excuse me. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time. Follow this guy.
I am.
That's your Instagram handle too?
Yeah, Instagram and Twitter. It is I am Corey Kirk. I talk Survivor all the time. That's my main show. I occasionally talk Big Brother, just depending on how the season goes. Last 2 seasons have been fantastic, but I am very skeptical. I've always been skeptical about every TV show. I give it a few weeks to watch it. But Survivor mainly, and also sports. So yeah, I am Corey Kirk.
All right, later, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time.
Take care.